Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have two incredible speakers tonight who are going to get into some very fascinating subject matter. But first, for anyone who doesn't know, this is the closing night event of Vaster Than Empires, which is our speculative science fiction writing retreat. We have been able to spend the last week with 10 incredible writers who are here in the audience, so please buy everything they have to sell. We just want to say thank you to everyone who's made this possible. A good percentage of our team, unfortunately, has already had to leave the country for our next series of events. But I think we will have another short reception following this where you can hopefully meet our writers. I know the co-founder of the Berggruen Institute would like to say a few quick words, and then we'll get started.
Okay, another great show by Studio B. Nathan Gardell is the co-founder of the Berggruen Institute and editor of Noema magazine. There's some on the table there. Be sure you take them before you leave. We put up a police tape all around the building to try to... We didn't want anybody to come in. So you're a very special guest that you're here. So I just want to say how incredible Studio B has been since it's only a year and a half, 2 years old. The idea of Studio B was the Berggruen Institute is a kind of a think tank on issues from AI to geopolitics to democratic governance. And we're in LA, we're not in Washington. So we're not writing policy papers for the White House. The people creating the meta-narrative are here in LA and Hollywood. And so the idea of Studio B was to bring together the scientists, the philosophers, the technologists, together with the creative people in Hollywood. And over the past year, we've had Yuval Harari with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. We've had Eric Schmidt with Ashton Kutcher. We've had Reid Hoffman from LinkedIn. Eric Schmidt was the head of the CEO of Google. Reid Hoffman, co-founder of LinkedIn, with J.J. Abrams. We did something with Jane Fonda in the Academy on climate change. So it's a real kind of synergy that is building. And I think tonight's attendance and Vaster Than Empires is a good indication of how this thing is going. So thank you guys, Studio B. Great show. Great guys tonight. So let's get rolling, huh?
Testing. Oh, nice and loud. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Hello, Jaron.
Hi.
I'm so excited to be here. I am such a nerd, and this is like heaven for nerds. I've been with the retreat all week, and I have my brain's very tired. But I'm really excited to be talking to you, Jaron. I've been an admirer of your work for a while, and just the thoughts that come out of your head, but also your weird fascination with interesting instruments and everything that you kind of. All the tangents in your life that you deal with. You kind of talked about this backstage a little bit, but I wanted to just start this off because this is a conversation about algorithms and story, right? Which are kind of like two sides of the same coin. Like what is story but a version of an algorithm? It's about compressing information into a thing that allows the human brain to understand it. It also is about giving people sort of like a rule book for like how to move through life. Like Aesop's fable is almost like an algorithm to give people like it's almost like a human or like behavioral engineering in a way. This is obviously a change in scale and change in kind. But I asked the question, what are the kind of futures of this intersection of story and algorithm, and like where do you think we're going with this? Because it's everywhere. Algorithms are everywhere. It controls everything. It's impossible for us to tell stories without being influenced by some sort of algorithm. What does the future look like?
Well, the future doesn't exist yet, and the future is not predetermined. In Silicon Valley, we think it's predetermined and in our favor and not in your favor. And you believe us, and that makes it so, but you don't need to believe us.
Take note, guys. This is really important. We have power in this, and we've given it all up. We've given all the power to people like him. Like, look at him. Do you want to give this man power?
Yeah. No, I mean, there's several ways it could go, right? I mean, one way it could go is more of the same. And if it's more of the same, then in the future, whoever owns the central node of the network will run everything. So there's a couple of things about digital stuff, whether it's AI or not, that are distinct from what we know from earlier eras. One thing is that if a digital center is powerful, it tends to get more and more powerful, which is why digital centers have created the fastest and biggest fortunes in history. That's a little bit of math called network effect, which is sort of like, being famous for being famous or something. It's a little bit of
the Kardashian effect.
It's
okay.
but the thing is, in a digital thing, there's a pure version of it. We freebase that stuff, and we're the only ones who really do. But then there's another thing, which is unlike Aesop's fables or any old holy books or the Constitution. These things are not static content that then people interpret. Instead, they're active, they're interactive, and so therefore you can implement behavior modification in them. You can make other people into B.F. Skinner's pigeons or rats being sort of programmed, and we're happy to do that if you want it, you pervert. And
yes, Daddy. Yes, Data Daddy.
And so the thing is, there's a potential for a kind of a power concentration, an influence concentration, that's actually not just more intense than we're used to in history, but it's really different in kind, and also more persistent. Like in the past, of course, there's been incredible concentrations around various dictators or cult leaders or whatever, but then those people die and the thing dissipates. The dynasty falls, so on. These things can be potentially quite persistent. I mean, we don't know for sure because it's all sort of new, but it appears that they could be. So they really are different in kind. Now, so one idea is that we enter into that. And in that scenario, it's not just that Hollywood loses control of content, it's that there's no content. Because in that scenario, there's no movie, there's no TV. Instead, there's spontaneously generated experience that's optimized to grab, control, and modify that person for whatever purpose.
It's like if the doom scroll was just a movie and it was being fed to you endlessly, and maybe there were no
constantly synthesized differently for each person. To the degree people have shared experience, that's pulling power away from us. So we don't want that. We want everybody to have separated experience that's only mediated by us, and that can happen as soon as computation is pervasive and cheap enough. It's just a matter of waiting a little while. So that's one scenario. I don't like that scenario. I really dislike it.
We're almost there. Yeah, we're almost already there.
Yeah. There's a different scenario. There's a scenario where, which we sometimes call the data dignity scenario, where people are not modeled, are not being behavior modified. There's where the people can spontaneously use the programs to create content. They can say, the example that I've had this weird obsession with making and designing jewelry just in the last little bit. So this is all stuff I made in the last week, actually. And anyway, so now my fantasy is that the problem is that the human body doesn't have enough places to put jewelry. And so I'm fantasizing aliens that would have different bodies where I could do different jewelry, different tentacles and protuberances and whatnot. It's a good thing to think about. Maybe the aliens will do that. But anyway, let us leave that aside. The point is, I could ask for them spontaneously. In fact, we can do this in the lab now. And then what would happen is other people would share it. And the notion of this is a future of a business that's both distributed but also has a center. And there are precedents for this in human affairs. In fact, entertainment and media is a rarity in human affairs for how centralized it was before computation. And with computation, it's just a wipeout. There's a story I tell sometimes of a certain studio head who I don't think is present here. If you are, you know who you are. And this person was telling me that, what's great about AI is I won't have to pay anybody anymore. I don't have to pay the directors. I don't have to forget SAG. I don't have to do anything. I
It's
just
like
ask
so
them.
on the nose. It's like what you expect a CEO to say. It's
I
like
know. All I do it is, and then I stream it to you and you pay me for it. And I said, okay, speaking for Silicon Valley, why are we paying you? Like, what's special about you? We'll roll right over you. Like, Hollywood has this much money, we have that much money. Like, yeah, you can play golf with us. That doesn't mean we're gonna not roll over you. Like, forget it. Like, it was like, but I play golf with you. Oh, yeah, right, yeah, sure. Yeah, right, sure, dream on. Okay, so what is an example of a thing in human affairs where there's both a distributed version, but there's also a center that's special and professional? Sports, a zillion little sports leagues, a zillion intermediate sports leagues, sports equipment companies, coaches, sports journalism. There's like a whole very diverse and very distributed sports world, and then there's professional leagues. Yeah. They coexist. That is actually typical in human culture. Another example, when we were just talking about this, is the marriage industry is distributed. Cosmetics, beauty, fashion, there's a distributed version with all the nails and nail salons and beauticians, and there's like very distributed. And then there's the center, big fashion houses.
I mean, all those
We could have
examples-
culture like that, and that means there's still a center and there's still a Hollywood, even though there's also distribution. Like, that is a great feature. It's distributed economically, aesthetically.
all of those examples, though, kind of the reason why there's a distribution is because there's a physical embodiment in those work. Like sports is the body, nails is the body, and like the problem with stories is it's so much in this the noosphere, right? It's in this abstract space. But that being said, I almost wonder if there's a version where we actually don't even have a center for everything is distributed. Like I think too, like I mean, actually this would have a center, but I've been dreaming up a lot about what would happen if we were able to have every local community tell the story of their community for their community, right? The people are telling the stories for themselves, and in a very like Campbell way, the myth emerges from the community, becomes a reflection and an archival history of that community. And what is another word for that but like local access television? And like what can we do with the new technology? Like what if your local access television felt like a version of TikTok that wasn't trying to just like mine your attention for as much time on site optimization, whatever, and instead was just like, oh look, someone did a review of that local restaurant and they did a thing. Or like I would love my son to go around my local neighborhood and review playgrounds and just put it on local access television. But it's like, how can we go back to what, like in some ways I feel like AI is forcing us to ask like, what's the original role of story? Like why did we do this? And there's so many answers to that question, and I don't think one of the answers is so that one culture can dominate everyone else, right? That's not one of the reasons why stories evolved.
Well, when the internet started, and I was there for that.
Me too. I was like 8, but yes, I was there.
I was older than 8, and when the internet started, we thought that we'd enter into a world where each content creator would have their own website, and the thing that would be in common would be a public commons, right? That was the idea of it. And instead now, if people express themselves and want to reach anybody, the only way they can do it is through a platform like TikTok or Instagram or whatever. And that's very dystopian from the perspective of the start of the internet. And that happened through a series of preposterous misadventures, unfortunately, but it happened. There's a series of distinct mistakes that happened over the years that led us to where we are. And then the problem with that is that the only real business model available for these things are either subscriptions, which tend to not work, or what it does is it creates a class society where the people who can afford the prescriptions prescriptions, the subscriptions. They're like prescriptions because they're sort of psychoactive drugs, right? So the people who can afford the subscriptions are less manipulated than those who get the free version. And the free version is an influence peddling operation. And so those people are influence peddled. And I think that that's led to a crazy, degenerate form of civilization that is not sustainable.
One of the things that you talk about is how important it is that we don't allow algorithms and AI to become a noun. It is not a noun. It's a verb, right? It's a collective group of decisions from humans that allow these things to become the things they are. And there's sort of this like fatalism around algorithms where we just say, oh, the algorithm decided this, the algorithm decided that, but actually, a human decided what the algorithm was optimizing for, and the human, and like that's something I think about a lot. Is there a version where, when I watch a movie, I love it when I can sit down and I just feel like I'm in good hands. The director is doing things, even if it makes me uncomfortable. I'm like, there's a reason for this. Like I watch Scorsese, and I'm like, I know why he's doing. Like I don't know why he's doing it, but I feel comfortable in this. Is there a version where, again, I'm just talking about distributed models, where people can actually be designing the platforms for each other? Like, what if I design a platform for my family, and I was like, and you can trust me to build an algorithm because I am, maybe you don't have weird relationships with your dad, and you would not want your dad to build an algorithm for you. But pretend you have a loving father who just wants to build something nurturing and something that, like, China has a whole thing where they turn off TikTok at 7 p.m. because they want their kids to sleep. It's like, we can design these things to be nurturing, to be healing, to be fulfilling, but instead we're designing them in other ways. Like, is there a version of that where we can actually have authorial control over our algorithms and actually give each other different experiences of the internet?
Well, in principle, we should be able to make that. I have to say that from a technology point of view, yes, we can do that. It hasn't been done, so as a human experience, it requires invention and experimentation.
You're smart, right? You can
we call it speaking the world into existence. So I've been running a research project for some years, mostly with student interns, because I'm trying to get the youngest researchers working on it, grad students, since they're going to take on the industry someday. But the idea is that you can spontaneously form the thing and then unfortunately within the industry, this speak the world into existence stuff has been taken instead as a way to bring economy to game development and say, well, that's great, the game developer will speak the world into existence and sell the game. I'm like, no, the user could do it. It's a struggle. So what you were saying about AI being a noun, I really object to the usual framing of the conversation because it goes astray right at the start, where somebody says, well, will AI destroy us? Will it eat us? Will AI save us? Will it cure all the diseases? What will AI do? But the thing is, AI isn't a thing out there. It is a collaboration of us. It's trained on your data. It's operated. Like, a great example of this is when the Elon's stupid AI platform X went all Nazi recently. Or no, it went woke in his opinion, then he turned it to Nazi. He's in control of it. Like, there you are, you can see it. Like, these things are not out there as like these alien entities and we wonder what they'll do and we have to pray to them and we have to hope that they'll be good. No, like, it's our thing. There's nothing there but people. And the moment you treat it as a noun, you've already lost. You're already sending us money for no reason at that moment. Like, you shouldn't do that. AI is not a noun.
One of the, that's like, I love that framing because it is, it gives us power again, right? Like, I think so much of what the tech industry does is disempower us in so many ways. And but when I look into it, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong and whatever, but I've been like, how come we're not just, why can't we just regulate these algorithms? Like, why can't we do it? Obviously, there's lobbying, there's all that stuff, but like, from my reading, it seems like corporations are hiding behind the First Amendment, saying to regulate algorithms is to regulate our free speech.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, like, in my opinion, like, the people who wrote the First Amendment had no idea algorithms were coming, right? And it was all about power dynamics. It's about like the little guy being able to speak truth to power, to punch up. This is corporations punching down on us and saying, no, you have to protect our free speech. How do we even begin to, because like free speech is so important. We have to protect that. But how do we even begin to regulate algorithms if we're up against that kind of logic?
Yeah, so there's a long saga about that. Now you might say, wait, I'm the prime scientist at Microsoft. First of all, I'm not speaking for Microsoft. That should be obvious. I have the ability to speak my mind so long as I'm clear. I'm not official corporate policy, so obviously it isn't. And yet, I think I'm ultimately speaking in our self-interest. I really believe that. Not everyone does. There's honest disagreement about it. I think what we're doing is not a sustainable kind of business, and I actually, I think making our customers do better and be richer is how Microsoft has gotten bigger than Google and stayed bigger than Google, and I'd like us to keep doing that. And like subsuming one's own customers is a terrible business model. No reason to do that. All right, so that's where I'm coming from, and that's how I perceive myself as being consistent to be working in the industry and also criticizing it. But
Which I think is so important. I think there should be more people who are in it who can just speak their mind like that. It's so important.
Microsoft lets me do it and a few other people, and somehow we're still successful. But most of the tech companies, the other big ones, don't. Like when you whistleblow at Meta or Google, you get fired. And I think they're hurting themselves. I think they're shooting themselves in the foot. I think it's a commercial mistake, totally aside from anything else. I really believe that. I think that they're blowing it. But let's leave all that aside. You know what? After all that, I forgot what your question. What did you ask me?
How do we regulate algorithms?
Oh, regulate algorithms, right? Okay. So what happened was a really long time ago, in the late '80s. There was, some people will be old enough to remember a guy named Al Gore, who was. You remember Al Gore? Okay. So back in the 80s, he was a senator from Tennessee and very tech savvy, and he had this idea that instead of a bunch of isolated networks that didn't interoperate, there should just be one of them because it would bring so many benefits, and that would be the internet. He's often ridiculed because people say, oh, he says he invented the internet. That's not what he said, but in a funny way, actually, I would say it. I would say that the invention of the internet wasn't a technical achievement, but a political one, because there were these things called packet switch networks, but they were all run by dicks who didn't want to interoperate. Oh, can I say that? I know Hollywood's very sensitive about language. I'm sorry. In Silicon Valley, we don't care, but I know you guys. You're very fragile, and I want to respect that. So. I'm doing some work around here. I'm doing some screenwriting. I'm doing a movie with Natasha Lyonne and Britt Marling now and stuff. And I always say it's like I'm a tourist in Vanuatu. I know it's about to be underwater, but I just want to enjoy it while it's there. So anyway, sorry. Anyway. The thing is, back in the old days, the idea was these people are not interoperating. We're not getting a single network, but a bunch of little ones. Let's just bribe them with a bit of government money. That's fine. That's what governments are for. So Al Gore got this thing together and scoped out this whole plan to get a single internet. It worked, which was amazing. But then the thing is, people were saying, but don't make that network too functional. Like, you want to create commercial opportunities for the people who'll deal with accounts and identities, and the people who deal with payments, and the people who will deal with storing information, and the people who will deal with streaming information. And so I was in this meeting in the executive office building in DC with the little cabal of weirdos who were trying to get this thing to happen.
I love the history that you have experienced is so exciting. Continue. This is so fun.
Yeah. By the way, one time I was testifying in the Senate for this thing, and I decided to wear a suit and tie because I looked ridiculous. I looked like a penguin that had been done up by a stylist or something. And so there's actually a non-binding resolution passed by the Senate demanding that I never do that again. So I actually have fashion advice from the U.S. Senate that I continue to follow. But anyway, I remember saying in this meeting, we are giving gifts of trillions of dollars, literally, to persons unknown who will grab the network effect niches for these things that really should just be built in. And like, do we want to do that? It's like, well, the only alternative is to give those same things to all of these non-interoperable networks, which might pull the country apart in the world. So yeah, unfortunately, it is still the best decision. So then that's what created Google and Meta. Google did, so there's a technical thing, which is the backlinks. If you have a link on the online that points to something, does that thing know it's being pointed to? So that's called backlinks. And the original network designs all had backlinks. And then we don't have them because the idea was that some private enterprise would come along to do the backlinks. That's Google search. Google did that. We created a trillion-dollar company. We didn't have accounts. Meta did that. And so on. Like we created all these things by leaving them out of the basic. But the problem with that is we effectively recreated this world of non-interoperable networks out of the interoperable network because all of these things now become these, well, anyway. So I don't know. It's a bit of a comedy of errors, but there we are. Yeah, that's what happened.
So you're saying it's too late and we should give
No,
up?
no. It is not too late. I think there's opportunity. What happens is when there's a major enough turnaround in the physical world, then there's an opportunity to challenge the network effect hubs that run everything. So, for instance, a Chinese entrepreneur and then the Chinese government noticed that when there's a generational shift, there's an opportunity to grab it. That's TikTok. You used TikTok as an example before. It's interesting that the Chinese version of it is engineered to nurture young people and make a stronger country, and ours, by all accounts, is engineered to, the term is disintegrate our society and separate us. Now, there are some who believe that allegation is not well-founded enough. I'm not one of them. I've talked to people in the Chinese side who've talked to me about it. But the interesting question to me is, does the Chinese project to improve their young people actually work or not? Or is it also, like, I don't think they know the answer. I don't think we know yet.
It's almost
Yeah.
like, even if you have the best intentions, is this a good idea? Should we just go back to the boring timelines that are just chronological timelines of people you follow, right? And like, there's something so pure and beautiful about things like Wikipedia that have survived the Web 2.0 transition,
Yeah.
where it is like, it's decentralized by a lot of people and it works and people trust it. I think about like when I was using LiveJournal or Zanga or MySpace and how things weren't just coming at me all the time. I had a contained space. I had control over my own attention, and if I wanted to go find something, I had to go get it. And then if I couldn't think of anything to get, I just get bored and I leave. And I wonder if can we create platforms that are intentionally boring? Can we make them just tools again so that they do the thing and then we just give people the space and time and freedom again? Like, if we were to create a new Bill of Rights for humanity in the face of AI and technology, do I have the right to my own attention, right? And I think that's like a question that we should be thinking about now in the face of like basically a transformation not only for our industry but for the whole world. What are the things that we actually want to protect now? Because the Bill of Rights was incredible for what it was at the time, and we kind of need some upgrades, some new things.
Yeah. Well, oh God, there's 100 things to say in response to that. We need to repeal Section 230 in the U.S., which is the equating algorithms with speech, more or less. It wasn't framed that way, but that's what it's turned into, and that's a problem. I think we need to develop new business models around the world as they're politically possible. So this idea of distributed creativity as a form of business, which is sometimes called data dignity, is taking off politically in odd places. It's like huge in Japan right now, Taiwan, parts of Europe. The problem is these places don't own the big global platforms, right? All of them pretty much are in the West Coast here or in China. And those two places are not having any of it. It's like, our job is to compete with each other to the death.
Yes.
But that's what we're locked in. And it's so dumb. But anyway, that's what we're doing. We're doing that. Why are we doing that? I don't know. It's like when you're super smart, sometimes there's this funny thing where you become stupid, you know, like it. One of the within the AI world, people love to create these artificial debates about just like levels of AI because it's a very nerdy thing, and only we're smart enough to talk about it, and you're not. And so one of the questions is, when will AI become super intelligent? Will it be in 2 years or 20 years or whatever? And so my answer to that is, all evidence and reason indicates that there's a ceiling to intelligence, but there's no floor to stupidity. And so anyway, I don't know.
I mean, what you're speaking to is really important, because it's like we talk so much about intelligence, and we've optimized for intelligence, but like, around the time of the Enlightenment, we kind of decoupled intelligence from wisdom, right? Those two things kind of moved hand in hand, because intelligence brings power, wisdom tells you how to use that power, and we kind of decoupled those things, and now this has been the trajectory, and now the intelligence has become stupid, right? That's kind of what you're talking about.
It's amazing. Just when you're narcissistically obsessed with your own intelligence is when you really become a dumbass, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's
exactly.
like it never fails.
And
it's
that's
like this.
And that's a lack of wisdom. And I just want to kind of speak to this moment where storytellers think so much spiritually and philosophically and emotionally just as much as intelligently, right? And the wisdom that is going to be required for us to work in this space, I think, is really important, because one of the things I'm worried about is, like, we are inherently fine-tuned to recognize story. We see order of events, we see causality, and that excites us, right? That gives us a narrative that allows us to move through the world. And you talked about earlier about this thing where we are now, they're now sort of optimizing for targeting that part of our souls, the part of our souls that wants to look for a narrative, and like there's almost like this narcissistic feedback loop where the AI is kind of putting us as the main characters in a way that is like targeting our need for narrative, and like what's that going to do to us, which is like, it feels like the opposite of wisdom, right? We're kind of trying. We're like, it feels like wisdom. It's feeding, the intelligence is feeding us narratives that feel like spirituality, but actually it is just pure manipulation.
Yeah. Hey, I'm about to say more things that are critical of my industry, and I feel like I just have to balance it for a second and say the reason I'm in it is because I actually think these algorithms help real people, and I think the secret really is to be able to tell the stories of the people you're helping so that you're connected to them. So if we can help with new cancer drugs, and we can, if we can help with new energy cycle transformation technologies, and we can, and so on. Like, I'm in it because I think there are true stories about really helping people, and it's legit. And that I really want that to be clear before I'm about to say such mean things about us. So
I love it. You gotta do the sandwich method. Compliment, a critique, a compliment.
No, I mean, like, it's complicated. It's complicated. So earlier this year, I wrote a piece for the New Yorker about the trend of people falling in love with fake lovers on AI, and I think the data's a little exaggerated, because I think people just like writing the radical thing when they get this questionnaire to fill out, especially teenagers. But 70% of teenagers report having had an AI lover at this point, which is an entity that they feel is their boyfriend or girlfriend or non-binary friend at that period of time. All right, so I don't think that that's great, because once again, AI isn't a noun. It's not like something that's out there, that's some supernatural or alien entity that they're encountering. That might be interesting, but instead it's this thing we make, we control. Like, they're actually being lovers with a bunch of nerds in cubicles in Silicon Valley. I mean, like, they're not seeing the reality. But quite recently, really in just the last few weeks in particular, there's been this surge in people who say the following thing. They say, oh, Jaron, you always say these disparaging things about AI. It's just this collaboration algorithm or whatever. But you don't know, I am special, and I have interacted with ChatGPT or whatever one it is, and I have brought it alive and made it divine. And you must read this divine work we made together, and you must understand that I have awakened the universe into this divinity. I am special, and I have brought the thing alive. You might have started it, but I have perfected it. And so the thing is, it's not just one person. Like, I'm getting a flood of people like that who believe that. And so the thing is that there's always, because of people being so peculiar, because we have a self-model and self-awareness as part of the way we act in the world, it's inevitable that there's a trace of narcissism in our attention always. You can't have romantic love without a bit of narcissism in there. You can try, but you're not going to quite get rid of it. And you can't have a spiritual feeling without a bit of narcissism. I'm special because I get it. I'm enlightened. There's always a little bit of a thing like that. And the thing is that with behavior mod algorithms, they'll just naturally seize that thing and they'll grab it. And that's what's going on here. But here, okay, I have this problem. Every time you watch a police procedural on TV, right? So the suspect is sitting there in the interrogation room, and the tough detectives are saying, "Okay, Buster, we have you on CCTV about blah blah," and then the guy says, "Lawyer," and they're like, "Oh, okay, we can't talk to them." So as soon as somebody says, "Spirituality, it's what I believe," what am I supposed to do? I can't tell somebody that their religion is wrong, and so it's like the moment somebody goes there, you're kind of in this like bind, and I have not figured out a way through that. Honestly, that's a really tough one.
Right, because again, narrative is so hard coded in us. If we start to believe a narrative, and like I think Jamie Wheel talks about this problem where like we talk a lot about basic human needs, food, water, shelter, health, safety, all that stuff. You kind of move up the ladder, but we forget that one of our basic needs is meaning, and if no one is giving us meaning, there's a void in a vacuum, and if there's a void in a vacuum, someone will fill it. And oftentimes the things that fill it are not the things that should be filling it. And in this case, if we were optimizing for the meaning filling job, if it's like potholes being filled, the speed at which we are going to be filling people's meaning is really terrifying, because it's like cement. Once it's there, it's going to be really hard to pull out.
This is going to be a tough one. And the thing to remember is that as powerful as the platforms are, as powerful as the interaction with an adaptive algorithm is, as powerfully vulnerable as people are, there's still the fact that China could grab TikTok means that there will be an occasion where something better can grab its way in. And we're going to play a complicated game in the coming decades of like, which part of the world might show some hope, which part of industry might show some hope, which part... Now, right now, the people who are allies of the data dignity movement are surprising to me. In the United States, the evangelical Christian world has, in a way, been amazing. Like, you might recall that in the Big Beautiful Bill, the provision that removed AI regulation for 10 years was shot down 99-1 with the one vote to preserve AI impunity with somebody who's already announced they're retiring. That was the evangelical right stepping in and saying, we don't want an artificial God run by these nerds. And they were right, I disagree with them about a lot of stuff quite profoundly, but they're right. They're allies.
Yeah, you're speaking to something that I find really important, and actually it's kind of a miracle if these algorithms are really just as a second second effect of trying to optimize for attention grabbing, they just polarize. Like, they polarize everything. The fact that AI has not become a red-blue kind of partisan issue yet is a miracle. And like, anytime anyone begins to do that, we should be shutting it down. Because if we allow AI to become another partisan issue, like abortion, like climate change, any of these things, we're done. Like, it's really going to be hard to come back from that.
AI is providing an opportunity for us to speak across the red-blue divide, and we must do it. And some of us are, and we can disagree. We live on the same planet. We live in the same country. We must be talking to each other. We must not cancel each other, because if we cancel each other, you're ceding everything to the algorithms. Similarly, the new pope is really helpful. Similarly, new waves of Japanese politicians are helpful. What we have to do is look at a complex unfolding of things. And once again, this is not anti-business. I'm actually kind of pro-business. One thing I'll point out is that the invention of the AI idea, that this systemic way of people collaborating should be thought of as a person, is Adam Smith, the invisible hand. This is where the idea was invented. And the thing about capitalism and markets is, in my opinion, there are some wonderful instances in which they have been incredibly helpful and brought about betterment for vast numbers of people that couldn't really plausibly have happened any other way. They have also been the means of extraordinary exploitation and disasters for people. They've done both. Okay, so which way of thinking about markets is more likely to make them beneficial? And I think clearly if you think of them as a form of human collaboration, then you have opportunities for the Keynesian school of sensible regulation. You have a better chance of being a good economist and a good policy person if you're into it being like the super smart savant. The market knows all and you just have to do whatever the market says. Well, you're making yourself into an idiot, and things will probably fail. So it's really the same thing. It's not even similar. I think it's identical.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're constantly just pushing up against this feeling that like this is not inevitable, and one of the experiences I've been having just being in Hollywood, talking to the people like all from all different levels, is that there's this feeling that this tech is inevitable. It's coming and it's infiltrating our industry, and there's nothing we can do about it. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I've been trying to get people to understand is like, everyone's scared to talk about this because they're not the experts, right? They're not the tech experts like you. I don't understand how large language models work.
And don't you forget it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But I want to remind the people here who are filmmakers that you are experts. You're experts in storytelling. You're experts in filmmaking. You're experts for your own industry. If you're a doctor, you're an expert in medical. If you're a teacher, you're an expert in education. And we cannot continue to allow the tech industry to set the terms for our industries, because that is what they've been doing. They've been basically running the world for the past 10 years, and we cannot allow them to set the terms for our world in the same way, because you guys have been treating us like a playground in a lot of ways. And so what I offer to people who are scared and confused is to engage in a way where you are putting your hands on the steering wheel, because if you don't, they will. What we need to be doing right now is basically like, how do we set the terms for our industry? We have to understand that AI is fundamentally incompatible with our institutions, both on a global scale, but also within our industry. AI is going to blow through our systems and our institutions in the way that they cannot handle them. And so we have to collectively upgrade those institutions and systems. So for the film industry, that means we kind of have to do something unprecedented, which is we have to bring together the studios, the unions, the academy, basically everyone, basically agencies. Everyone has to actually come together as a unified front against the tech industry.
But if you guys get your act together, it means less money for me. You can't do that.
I'm sorry. We're
you have to fight. You have to fight.
I give up.
More strikes. More strikes. No, you have to. But you have to have more ridiculous studio heads. You need to greenlight cliched, doomed projects.
See, this
endlessly.
Is what we're up against.
You have to. Please. I'm begging you. What do I have to do?
It's important that this is not seen as a strike, though. Okay, this is a way.
No, the strike was actually good. I was very supportive of the strike.
But this is a different kind, basically, because we're not striking against our employers. We're putting a line in the ground against another industry that is an invasive species. We have to basically say, look, if you want us to adopt your technology into our pipelines, which they do, they've invested billions of dollars, and they want us to do that because we can actually give them money, and the investors want that, right? So we have a little bit of leverage for maybe a couple years. Who knows? Hollywood actually has some power for a little bit. If you want us to adopt your technology into our pipelines, you're going to have to meet us on our terms. And that means you're going to have to help us upgrade our institutions, meaning like, what do we do about job loss and job transition? You're going to have to help us figure that out. If you want us to use your technology, what are we going to do about data, dignity, creative right, like copyright, intellectual property? You're going to have to help us figure that out. If you want us to use your technology, this is my most important one, is like, what are we going to do about deepfakes and misinformation and the stuff that you are polluting our consensus truth with? Anyone in this industry who's actively using this technology with this knowledge that this is also being used to create sex tapes of politicians, which is actually happening in the world right now, you are actively enabling the tech industry and saying this is okay. This is not okay. I would love to use this generative AI. I think it's so fun. It's so interesting. I play with it. But I will not use it for my career until we do something about this technology. This stuff, past a certain level of capabilities and past a certain level of photorealism, some of this stuff, and this might be a little controversial, I think some of this stuff should be behind registration and licensing. Just like a gun, just like a car. You can do real damage with a photorealistic image or video that we've already seen happening. And so we are just like sitting around not talking about it in this industry and letting the tech industry divide and conquer us. MGM cut a deal and gave away all their IP. Sony Animation already said they're adopting some of this stuff into their pipelines. We are just silently letting them take over and not even putting up a fight, not just for our industry, but for the world. We are the tip of the spear, and if we could set an example for other industries where teachers can say, you do not set the terms for our industry. We know our kids, we know education, you bow to us, right? I feel like this is sort of what we need to be doing right now before it gets too late. Because once it gets integrated, once it takes over everything, we will be in the same place we are in with social media, which is, it is so entrenched in our economy, we can't regulate it without ruining our economy, right? And so, thank you, And so, like, I just want to give you guys power back again, and remember, you are the experts of your industry, and you should take that to heart. Thank you. So I'm off my soapbox now. I just needed to say that real quick.
No. Yeah, get it out, man.
Thank you. Thank you for playing the heel. That was really nice. This is some good narrative stuff. The bad guy. Yeah, exactly. But so from the outside, from your perspective, what should we be doing? Like, are there other things that you can just see? Like, why are you idiots doing it this way?
I think there are two ways to address regulation and demands of Silicon Valley. One of them is to say, don't do this. And the other thing is to say, you need to do this in addition. And getting us to do things in addition is easier than telling us not to do things, because the problem with telling us not to do things is that some bad actor will then do whatever that is. You know, so you can say, you can't just steal our stuff. So then there's pirate servers from China or whatever. Like there's always a race to the bottom if there's a prohibition. So you could ask us, for instance, to say, every time there's an AI model, we should instantly have an explanation of what led to that AI model. What are the key sources without which it would be different? That solves deepfakes better than saying no deepfakes, because you can't define a deepfake. That puts you into this endless loop of debate and controversy. Oh my God, you'll never get out of that. But transparency is possible. It's just not done. Like, you should be able to, for every AI output, whether it's text, movie, anything, you should say, there should be a little display right next to it that says, this was based primarily on these documents that if they hadn't been there, it'd be totally different. And you should see immediately, oh God, okay, these are some bozos, and these are. Now let me tell you why we need that. And this is the argument that's working for me, because people say, oh, who cares? We'll just mash it all up and they'll pay for it. They'll pay for their own stuff. But here's the scenario. Right now, we still haven't been able to solve. Here's the scenario: you have a bad guy holed up, maybe across the street. They're in a kitchen, or so I'm told, I don't know. They're in a kitchen, they have their phone, and they take a picture of what's in the kitchen. They say, hey, AI, tell me how to turn this into a bomb in short order. Now, if you just do that explicitly, all the big AI platforms, except I presume X, will catch that and prevent it from happening. However, there's a thing called prompt injection, where you can be sneaky, and if you know what you're doing, you can still get it to happen by screwing around with the way you interact with AI. It's a known art. I do it myself every once in a while on what's called red teaming, where you try to pretend to be a bad guy. But it can also happen by accident. If a bad guy can do it, so it can also happen just by chance, right? How do you fix it? Well, right now the way we do it is we'll use AI to fix AI, and the AI will try to tell if you're asking for this bad thing. But then, of course, if you can deceive AI in the first place, then you can deceive the fix. What if you can see the key sources? Guess what there's going to be? A bomb document. So see, the thing is that revealing where it comes from, revealing the people behind the curtain, actually is the solution to this otherwise absolutely intractable AI safety problem. And all of these horrible scenarios, oh, it'll take over and kill us all of a sudden those things become solvable if we just admit what it really is, which is a mashup of people, and reveal the people. All of a sudden, all that goes away. So that is the argument to make. So instead of a prohibition on deepfakes, make a demand for revelation of sources.
Yeah.
Ah.
I mean, transparency. I mean,
Yeah.
sunlight is the best disinfectant, right? It's the thing, like you shine light on something and it loses its power sometimes. It's like really, yeah. I think we actually are running out of time.
Oh, and if that is the case, I need to ask for a certain rifle case, please. Thank you. God, Hollywood people, jeez. All right, so no, I usually bring an instrument to a talk, so I brought one here.
So as Jaron's setting up, we can just kind of, I will say that there's something interesting about talking about all this stuff, AI and everything, that is really hard because it feels like you've lost control. And I just want to offer this up because he's about to play music, and I want you to be thinking about these thoughts while he's playing. To learn about this stuff is to basically have to say goodbye to the future you thought was going to happen, and that requires a mourning process. And I just want to acknowledge that, like, for some of you, this is normal and fine. You've heard all this stuff, and it's not a big deal. But for some of you, this is really hard stuff to handle. The fact that Hollywood might not exist anymore. The fact that like all these institutions might be replaced by something else. We're saying goodbye to the future, and there's a little bit of grief in that. Who knows if it's going to be good? Who knows if it's going to be bad? But it's fundamentally going to change. And so just give yourself the space. And it took me many months to really absorb this, but you can kind of, as Jaron offers his music, you can think about all the stuff we thought we've been working on. You can think about the future you thought you were going to have. Wherever your mind goes, allow yourself this space to just fully feel those things, because it's normal, and it's what everyone I know, anyone who works in the AI space they have to go through the 5 stages of grief in some ways. But in order to move to action, you kind of have to move to that last stage of acceptance. And so I just want to offer that up to you, because even if it's not hitting you right now, it might hit you tomorrow, it might hit you next year, who knows? But that's the last thing I'll say. And Jaron, why don't you describe this instrument and tell us what you're about to do? Yeah.
Could I ask you to pretend to be a mic boom?
See? AI can't take this job. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you want it?
Well, just kind of there. I get to direct the director. I love this. This is like an alternate reality, isn't it, in the multiverse? Okay, so this is called a can. It's from Laos. Oh, there's such good stories about it, but in the interest of time, I'll just play it. I think you'll find it fun.
Beautiful. That was awesome. Thank you, Jaron. Thank you so much for this
thank you
conversation.
all for being. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you so much, guys. This is awesome.
All right. Thanks for sending all your money to Silicon Valley. We do appreciate it.